Mm.
Okay.
Okay. All right, guys. I mean, hope everything has been well. I mean, I wanted to start by saying that I think you guys are the only ones that have done 2 performances this year.
Actually, yes. We were very
Correct.
lucky. Our show actually happened literally 2 days before the ban
3 days.
on 3 days before the ban on live performances happened.
Correct.
So we were
But you guys
super
also
lucky.
perform at Prologue. But you guys also
Product,
perform at Prologue.
yeah, that one happened. Yeah, but I guess at that point we who knew all of this was going to happen, right? So
Yeah. But you guys are the first one that took the I would say a calculated risk, and you actually had all the safety measures in the Wild Rice studio, separating the seats and all. And I think you were the first ones that really put up a show in this unprecedented state of time we are in now. So maybe you can share, how has the opera people overcome this setback? Can I call it a setback?
actually, I wouldn't really think of it as a setback. I mean, it is in the sense that obviously, when you think about live performance being sort of the main medium through which we do, we create work and things like that, then sure. But actually, I think that in some ways it's really just a kind of rethinking and reshaping of how we go about how we go about sort of making music, and making production.
I think echoing what Frida was saying, I think it's only a setback if we kind of like just hung up our boots and said we'll wait till everything's over. But instead we were somehow, like actually like a lot of others. I'm not gonna say that we're the only people to ever think outside the box. So I think all of us had to kind of rethink how we're gonna be able to continue generating content and doing stuff. So it's just a rethinking.
Well, on that note, I have come out very strongly to say, I'm not a big supporter of online streaming of content. But why I told Shrida in my email is that why I'm so interested in what you guys are doing is because this is exactly what I'm saying, thinking out of the box. It's not taking an old performance and putting it online, or putting up a performance and putting it online, because you're just blurring the lines. But what you guys are doing is a practically new concept, something which takes time to actually think about and get it done. So for me, I feel that there's a lot of value to it. And so this is one of the reasons why I feel it's important to let people know what you're doing and see how they can support you. On that note, let's go straight into what you guys are doing. It's Kopi and Song.
Yes.
Kopi keeps us alive probably, and keeps us awake. But let's talk about the title. Kopi and Song.
When we discussed this concept, it came out of we got hit by this COVID thing, and we already had the AIDS quail in our manner of speaking going on, and then it really looked like nothing was going to be going on. So then I was talking to the guys, and I was saying that we really have to do something, and everybody has lost their work, everybody has lost their gigs, so we wanted to find a way to have the Singaporean or the Singapore-based singing community to be able to earn some money, but also to continue performing, continue sharing our music with our audiences and stuff like that. But then we also didn't want it to be this very serious sort of strange thing where you're doing a recital at home. Who cares, right? So we wanted it to be a time that you can get to know these singers, that you can have a coffee with them, and they will have some coffee, the pianist will have some coffee, and they will chat about the music, and then they will share it. It's a way for us to sort of come together as a community as well, and support one another, and also to like love this music together. So that's why that Kopi and Song came about, because we did not want it to be this serious, right?
No ball gowns.
I think we kind of foresaw that, or kind of thought about it, and it's not that anything wrong with it, but the concept of
nothing wrong with it per se, but the concept of having, a few people on Zoom like we are now, one play piano, one sing, and it's been overdone, and it's not really, the quality is not really there. I mean, it's hard lah. It's hard to do it well, and then you're just doing it for the sake of it being a lockdown performance like everybody in the whole world is doing, right? So we want to do something different lah. So it took some time to think about it, and I think this will be a nice way to get to know our artists, and I think that's something that they're not necessarily our. When I say our, I mean Singapore, lah, Singapore singers, and that's something that I think we've always wanted to. Part of what we've been trying to do is to get pull everybody into our projects. Everybody being the professional singers in Singapore, so that our audiences, as they get to know us at our work, but they also get to know all the singers here. And I think that's really, really important for our art form. Not just, okay, let's go and see, I'm going to go because I like Mozart. I'm going to go because I like Bernstein. No, I'm going to go because I like David Charles Stainsback from New York. I want to watch him. I want to go because, Felicia
fantastic.
Teo is my favorite singer in Singapore,
Right,
So
right.
we want that to happen, and that I think this project lends to that effort lah.
Yeah. I mean, and also I think we were also conscious of the fact that if you're going to put something up that's like 1 hour online, like nobody is going to watch the whole thing. So that's why we were like, okay, we do it as
It's hard
these
lah.
10-minute things, and like there's enough, and that, I mean, the whole thing, even with the chat and everything, is only about half an hour. So there's variety, and it's short, and it's easy, and if you don't want to tune in for half an hour, you just watch 10 minutes, and you get a sense of what it is. If you want to savor the conversation, you can savor it. So we wanted to keep it quite accessible in terms of how people approach it, just because that there is so much content out there and people do have a choice. So we wanted to make it something that people can immediately go to, and that they can get a sense of it without having to stick around for 1 hour.
Fantastic. I just want to point it out that I find this really good as well, because I noticed the date it's starting. It's starting on the 6th of June, and that's after our CV period. So
Yes.
this seems like it's well thought of, because this is not just about the CV period. This is about you guys really thinking about putting this format probably in the long run. You're looking at 10 episodes, which is on 10 Saturdays. Is it something which you guys have thought about for some time already, and it's something which you're putting into action now?
It's actually a kind of combination, I guess, of things, because I mean, obviously the circumstances have sort of pushed us to sort of have to think about doing programs in this way. But the thing is that actually from the very beginning, we were always kind of interested in seeing how we could move singing and vocal music and opera into like a digital space, and how we could interact more with sort of digitalization as a medium. And I think with everything that's happening, this felt like, okay, now like really is the time we can sit and think about it. And I mean, the first 2 years for any company, I mean, it's really about establishing your identity, establishing sort of what you do, and building a traction with the audience base. And I think that we've gone to a point where at least we feel like we've kind of hit that baseline at least. So now's the time we start thinking about, branching out into these other projects also.
Right. I mean, on that note, I want to say that when I attended, in our manner of speaking, the AIDS Quilt book, what was really interesting is that after performance, everybody wanted a piece of you guys. Everybody wanted to talk to you. And I guess this is the perfect time to actually introduce yourselves to these people, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's perfect. Yeah. Well,
I think that was a very special program. So it was very thought provoking. So definitely people wanted to sort of stay in that space and maybe not quite talk about it, but at least still exist in it for a while. Some people wanted to leave immediately, but it's a very heavy program but it was a very special one as well. You were there singing about a pandemic in the middle of another. It was just something that we could never have planned. So
Yeah, seriously, I mean, we planned this program in August last year. Like, there was none of this. Then suddenly this happened. It was just weird coincidences.
Yeah.
Or it's just foresight, is it?
One of us is
one of us is
one
a
of us
psychic.
is a witch.
Yes.
Jedi mind trick.
Well, I was wondering about Kopi and Song because I mean, looking at these two people I'm talking to, I mean, I would excuse Jonathan, but I mean, it should be
Thank you.
champagne or wine, right? Well, I mean, let's go into the details. I mean, these are live stream mini recitals with 10 different artists over 10 weeks. Is there a certain theme, or is these just their favorite composers which they would like to share with Singaporeans?
I mean, we gave the singers. I mean, we didn't obviously we didn't sort of prescribe necessarily what we wanted. I think what was important for us also is because all the singers are different, all their voices are different. What the kind of repertoire they're working on is different. So we also wanted it to be a way to showcase sort of what repertoire they are doing, or what work sort of they're working on now, or what is something that they've been wanting to perform that they haven't got a chance to in the last few years. So we kind of left that as the brief to them, and then they obviously send us options, and we discuss okay, maybe let's try this, or let's do this. So we really wanted it to be more of a showcase of them and their voices and what they are doing, rather than in the case of the AIDS Club, where it's a very curated, very sort of very themed program, where we are very particular about every single song that we choose for that.
Okay. 10 minutes. So I'm looking at about 2 to 3 songs per performer. This is just showcasing their repertoire. So I guess the big question is this a grand scheme? Is there a grand scheme of things for the opera people? Is it just a mini thing of a grand scheme? I mean, how does this all come in for the opera people?
I think that putting up even a live stream concert from a home, it does take funding. There will be a professional video thing happening. We're not doing it from our iPhones,
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, we're not doing it from iPhones. So there has been, some proper work, and NAC has been very supportive of it, and we're very thankful for the support and stuff. But it's a beginning, and then we see where it goes. I don't think it needs to be saturated every single weekend. There is some Singaporean somewhere singing to a camera. I think it was more for it was birthed out of the want to reach out to the community of singers to say, hey, we are here to have you sing. All the gigs are cancelled. Nobody has a job as a performing job right now, and even those who teach take quite a blow as well. So that was where it was birthed from. Will we continue? Yeah, why not? If this disease isn't going anywhere anytime soon, I don't think. So I think we will keep the 10 episodes first, and then later if we come up with something maybe more curated, or maybe we'll surprise everybody with something. We're always cooking up something. It will not be the same thing. We can promise you that. This is just like a testing lah, because we've never done it before.
Right.
So we're trying it out, what works, what doesn't work, and we'll just have fun. That's why it's not like some grand broadcast. It's just a little series called Kopi and Song. And yeah, and also we some things work well in that kind of format, and some things just don't. If you have a camera, one single camera and a piano, and you're sitting in a living room, if you're going to try to scream out some gigantic opera scene, it's just going to be it just wouldn't work. It just doesn't work. So it just depends, like that. And so we also have to think about that when we pick what goes on, something like that lah. Because we want to make sure everybody sounds good, you see, and everything comes across very nicely, and it's not anything goes, we go quite particular lah about that.
We did have a chat with the singers and we some considerations. Even though we leave the rep up to them, we to chat with them individually back and forth to see what they're thinking about, and so we keep it more to a lighter kind of repertoire lah, like David said. It's not something that's kind of completely inappropriate for the setting, or we know it's not going to sound great, because it's the like what we said earlier, the goal is also to put them forward and on their best foot lah, or at least something that it will be nice lah, likable.
Yeah.
Zoom meeting, huh?
And I mean, the tone of it is quite casual in a sense. It's not meant to be something very high, sort of high-handed. So we do want to keep it something that's quite chill, also in terms of the vibe and mood of it. Yeah.
For me, you guys have a high standard. I mean, you guys have performed in I would say, the high echelons of opera. So how does this doing it in the living room affects how you wanted to portray yourself? Because I mean, all these singers work on something called, perfection. And I think all musicians operate on that mantra. So how do you guys at least do your part to make sure that what goes out is of a certain standard? Or what can we expect?
Well, we expect people to practice.
I mean, we can only try our best. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I'll tell you that. I can tell you that. If you put, I can tell you now, sitting in front of a recording, video, live stream to anybody on social media or wherever we're posting it, is more scary than being 100 meters away from the closest audience member on the Esplanade Theatre stage. I'm this big, and I can make a mistake. You don't know, you can't hear, you can't tell.
Okay.
I can be sweating my face off, drooling, spitting, doesn't matter. But in this video, you seeing me like this, it's scary.
That's true.
Video, it's live, it's streaming. It's not like, okay, cut and then we go again. You can't. So it's very scary, actually.
I mean, what's your thought on that? I mean, David, you want to just share a bit? Because you have been performing a lot. I mean, of course, your brother has as well, but what are your thoughts on exactly what your brother said?
There's too many things to get into, I think, about that kind of thing. But I think what's important is that's why we want it to be chill. We have coffee.
Okay.
We choose songs that were meant to be sung with piano. Many songs were actually written for such a setting as a living room.
Okay.
Even back, if you want to talk about history, a lot of the art songs were written for salons that like a living room, and then the composer sits at the piano and then either he sings or somebody sings. It's not like we're not trying to squeeze something that's meant for a theater into the living room lah. So I don't think it will feel like very out of place. And then of course we will, since the circuit breaker is over, we will make sure that everybody gets a chance to rehearse, and then make sure that everybody's happy, and then we'll film.
Fantastic.
And then if things are not perfect, then that's life.
Yeah. I mean
that smile is very scary, That smile is very scary, yeah.
But it's true, but it is sort of the nature of, it is the nature of live performance, right? Like anything can happen, and I think that on some level we also felt that, even though we're doing it at home and not in a recital venue, that the live element of it is still important. That sort of the unpredictability of a live performance is actually sort of exciting and thrilling in its own way, because you never really know like what's going to happen, whereas like when something that's purely recorded, in a studio you can record a song 100 times and take the best take, combine all the best takes into the most perfect version of that song, but there's a different magic in it being, there's a different magic between that and something being purely live, and you letting chance sort of take you where it goes.
Well, the second part of that, I mean, we talked a bit about how the performance is going to be done, but the second part of that for me is something which is important as well, which is the chit chat, the chit chat Q&A session. Is it going to be moderated by you?
It'll be one of us lah.
Okay, one of you.
Who'll be
Okay.
doing it per session. I think yeah. So we'll sort of decide how we go about it.
Mostly
Okay,
Shreda.
Well, yes, I'm obviously the designated one, but you know,
Yeah.
Jonathan will not be off the hook either. But yeah, so it'll just
Just
be a short
Kopi
session.
with me or Kopi with Shreda is very
Yeah.
different.
Yes.
I think so. At least you wouldn't whip out a glass of wine. Well, Shrida, I mean,
Actually,
I'm not sure.
you never know. You never know.
Can you just share a bit about how this Q&A session will go and how it's going to be operated?
I think we will have some questions prepared ahead of time, obviously. And I think it'll be sort of finding out, firstly, I mean, sort of the singers, you know, why they chose the songs they did, you know, what is their own sort of connections to these pieces, but also finding out more about themselves, you know, sort of their journey and their sort of where they are in terms of their career and their singing. And yeah, and so for people to kind of get to know them a little bit better, I mean, know them a bit better beyond just reading a biography. You know, it's I always find, you know, biographies are very very cold and they're very sort of impersonal. So you know, how do we get to know these singers in a much more personal and sort of informal and casual level? And then also we will be taking some questions from. I mean, since it is a live stream, we'll take some questions from viewers and you know, our audience and what are their burning questions that they want to ask all these singers who are out there, whether I mean burning or not. But I think yeah.
Let's see whether how filtered it's going to be though.
Well,
We have talked about Kopi and Song, but can we just talk about the opera people as a whole? You know, with this year, as we talked about this pandemic, you know, the next 6 months is going to be challenging. It's going to be different. What can we expect from you guys, or is it just so unpredictable that we can't even talk about it?
I mean, actually, I mean, we can talk about it. I'm sure you probably saw as well at the It's Close that originally we were planning to do our sort of main production in July of Mozart's Idomeneo. We have tentatively shifted it to September, end of September. Again, but we don't know sort of how the situation is going to evolve, whether, I mean, firstly, whether, you know, live performances with audiences will be something that is even possible. Secondly, is would people even want to come to performances, you know, so close to the end of the circuit breaker period. So I think we are sort of weighing our options, and I mean, we are even considering, you know, do we want to again take the leap and do the opera entirely digitally? You know, is that something we want to experiment with and try out and see how it goes? Because I think it actually is quite exciting to think about the possibilities of creating a show that is entirely for the digital space and digital audience. And actually, the more you think about it, the more like that, you know, the initial reaction is always like, oh, does it feel like it's just option 2? But on some level, the more you think about it, the more we've talked about it, it feels like there actually is a different kind of excitement about creating something entirely for digital space, you know, that I think that we would be challenged by and excited to explore.
Any comments from the other two of you?
Yeah, we talked about this a lot actually, because the Idomeneo, we already, you know, when we plan our seasons, we plan very far ahead. So actually next year is already planned, but we won't reveal it yet, but it's already planned. So this year, if we don't do it, that means it's cancelled. It's not going to be done, or we will do it in many years' time, because we do plan quite far ahead and to get ready for things. But I think the idea of creating this Idomeneo in September purely for digital, perhaps in the theater, but set up so that the singers are protected, the orchestra is protected, and maybe everybody has a separate camera in a separate space in the theater. Who knows? we are willing to experiment, but we're not going to give away what we're really going to do yet. But you will see. We'll see if it happens. If not, things are there are many factors that go into it. One big one is funding. So every time you want to go digital, it costs money to do that, which is why we had to also wait quite long before we could even get enough funding raised to do even Kopi and Song. Something as simple as a live stream from a living room. It do cost money. So
Are you willing to share the details on an estimated cost of even doing something like this?
I mean, I will just suffice to say that obviously we wanted to make sure that everybody was compensated sort of properly for the performance. I mean,
right.
Again, part of the intention also was to
in the first place,
opportunities and work for the singers to be able to continue doing, continue singing through this period. And so I mean, we did want to factor that into our budgets and our costs as well. And I mean, again, like David mentioned, we're not just live streaming. We're not live streaming from our phones. We are getting a proper sort of equipment set up and stuff, and obviously that costs money as well. And that also, that beyond the singers, that there is all of this supporting industry that goes around, making work, even something as small as Kopi Song, that rely on productions and artists to sort of fund their own work, And so we wanted to make sure that this sort of community that goes beyond just the musicians is also a part of, making all the work that we do.
Fantastic. I really like how you're the spokesperson of the opera people, immediately jumping in and like, nope, you don't answer that, David. But yeah, I mean,
it's just me being always the one who's talking. Sometimes I give you conscious of it.
No, but yeah, absolutely true. I mean, I've read up, and it costs a lot to actually do digital, to make everything into a digital format. If you're gonna do it properly, and paying your artists is no mean feat. So I'm actually excited to see what you're gonna do. I'm not a big fan, but I'm excited because, as I said, you guys don't take, you guys are no nonsense. You guys make sure that you do a proper job, and so I'm interested to see how you guys overcome the barriers. So on that note, the last thing which I want to ask is that how do we sign up, or how do we find out more about Kopi and Song? How do we get a link? How do we join this thing?
Well, actually, we're going to. So it's not sort of closed in that sense. I mean, we'll be rolling out the marketing fairly soon, by end of this week, hopefully. And essentially, we would just be letting people know who's performing each week, what time to tune in, and then you just tune in on Facebook Live, and to catch the performance. We are keeping it quite open, and also hopefully it allows sort of people who are outside our immediate network of audiences who happen to stumble upon it to be able to just watch it and find out more about singing and our singers and what they're doing, and So yeah, I will keep you in the loop, of course, of once things go live. But yeah, it is just to tune in to follow us on our social media, our Instagram and Facebook, and we'll be putting up all the programs there. And of course, we'll also be, I mean, even though we're live streaming it, the videos will of course also be available post the actual event for people to access at any point.
The reason why I have not touched on the 10 performing artists is because I feel that, let's put it as a surprise, because I think you guys have curated this properly, and once you send me that whole list, I'll put it up and let people choose their favorites, find out more about people they have not heard about, and get them excited about what's to come. So will there be maybe somewhere where, as I say, I appreciate things that are done well. So if I feel obliged to put a bit of money into your little kitty, is there a way to be done? Is there something which the opera people...
I mean, you really don't have to. But again, we haven't quite worked it out, but I will figure that out and let you know.
Yeah, we have been talking about that. It's just that we've been very busy with setting other things as well. But definitely having a little donate button somewhere is something that we will be doing. But it doesn't take that long to set up. So we will set it up before we go live for sure.
Yeah. Because
And
I
it's, you know,
personally don't in having a free ride. I mean, if so much effort is being put in, as we have spoken in the last 30 minutes, you know, how much effort, how much planning that has been put into this. I think it should be
I mean,
appreciated.
Richard, I firmly don't believe that the arts should be free. It's not free. Yeah, so we need to live. We are, this is our job. Not anybody can do it. So I do believe that it should be supported lah. And
yeah.
if
And I mean, I must say the slight danger of the online sort of culture is that a lot of content is free, and I think that's good. But it's good for now, but it's not sustainable. And I think that if this is sort of a particular way forward for all of us, not just us, but the whole artistic community as a whole, I think that we do need to start sort of thinking about ways of how to monetize and how to sustain this, you know, beyond just sort of like the sort of grants and things like that. How do we for ourselves start creating sustaining models of working in this way?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, nothing comes with a free ticket. Because even for you to do something like this, you need to be accountable to people who are giving you the money in the first place,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So why are audiences not being accountable? So I mean, this I'm just putting it out there. I don't want to delve into it too much, but just something to think about. You know, when we release this video, it's really about letting audiences understand that effort has been put in. You know, funding has been given, but with every funding, I think everybody knows that you need to be accountable for it. So I think there's only one way where everybody has to be coming in together, and don't just say you're supporting, but come in and really show your support, because, you know, there are 4 people here on this chat, but by the end of, I mean, come 6th of June, there'll be probably 20 people who are excited about this project and something and has been part of this project. So I feel that effort has to be recognized. So guys, thank you very much for your time. We'll leave it as that.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you,
Looking
Richard.
forward to the list of performers that I can share with the audience.
Yeah, and once all the collaterals are done, I'll also email them to you so you can put it up.
Sure. Okay.
Thanks, Richard.
Have a lovely week.
And I'll figure out how to send the recording to you and mail it over.
Okay, sure.
Okay, take care.
Okay,
bye.
bye. Take care. Cheers.